Okay, so here we are at video number 3 in the series of cleaning and preserving coins, and I'm going to do a little bit right now about AU, BU coins, almost uncirculated, brilliant uncirculated coins, and how to preserve them and keep them. Obviously, everybody has their own way of doing things. Again, if you haven't watched the first 2 in this series, you should probably go back and watch those so that you don't think that I'm condoning cleaning expensive coins. We don't want that. But before I get to the AUBU coins, I also want to make sure I make note of the fact that one of the best ways to store your coins from that standpoint, if people put them in folders, and people use 2x2 flips. Some people use 2x2 flips that are this type of a 2x2 flip for storing things. It all depends on what you're comfortable with, what you like. I prefer the cardboard 2x2 flips, but when I do a cardboard 2x2 flip like this, before I put any coins in it, if you look real close, I don't know if you can see it or not, but on the lens of one of those, there is a fingerprint. And it's likely came from somebody who was counting them or putting them into packets or something like that at the coin store. And so before you put your coin in it, you should probably think about cleaning your 2x2 flips. I know most people don't necessarily think about that, but you should clean the inside and the outside. So this fingerprint, believe it or not, that I'm trying to clean off here is actually on the inside of the flip, which means that should you have put a coin in there that was a really nice uncirculated coin, the oils that were on that fingerprint could easily transfer to your uncirculated coin. So real good hint here is before you put a coin in here, you should do a couple of things. One, you should always take the 2x2 flip and knock the dust off of it like that. Because that way you get any of that extra dust or cardboard dust off of it. You should always take and clean that flip if you at all possibly can. So interesting part, this one can't be cleaned. I can't get that smudge of a fingerprint off of this 2x2 flip. So that means because I can't get it off there, I don't want it transferring to a coin, I'm not going to use it. So I'm going to look for 2x2 flips that don't have any fingerprints on them from that standpoint. And I'm going to clean them off, and I'm going to get the dust off of them. And here's one I've got that's relatively clean from that standpoint. So with that being said, that's a real good thing you should use when it comes to your 2x2 flips. Is making sure that you have a 2x2 flip that is clean and dust free before you stick a really nice coin in it. Okay, so with that, let's go and move on a little bit to some of these AUBU coins. And in front of me here, I have several AUBU coins, a variety of different dates. I know this one looks like it's a little bit more circulated. It's a 1931. I'm going to use this because it is actually a really nice coin. It's probably an XF or an XF plus. I've got 1958. I've got a 1953, some 45s, some 58s. Here's a 44, and a varying degree of things. And I will zoom in a little bit so you guys get a chance to see a little bit better what I'm dealing with here. These particular coins are what I would call almost uncirculated. They're not necessarily brilliant uncirculated because they have a little bit of dust. They have a little bit of discoloration to them. That one is both obverse and reverse. It has discoloration to it. So how do we make this look a little bit better than it is before I just stick it in the 2x2 flip? Well, with that being said, I'm not actually going to use Goo Gone on this because that's just a no-no. I'm not actually even going to use acetone on this. I am strictly going to use just some olive oil or some sort of, either an olive oil or a avocado oil, something along those lines. And I'm going to take this coin. That wasn't the one I had. Let's see if I can find the one I had here. Yeah, let's see. Yep, this was the 44. It's a 44S is what this one is. And I'm simply just going to take this olive oil and I'm going to use it on the surface of the coin a little bit, really lightly, always going with the circle of the coin from the standpoint of the what we call the cartwheel of the coin. And I'm simply just going to clean it that way. A little bit of stuff comes off. Excuse me, I'm homesick from work today again, so just gonna do that real lightly on the obverse, flip it over, and I'm gonna do the same thing real lightly on the reverse of the coin. You notice that it doesn't necessarily change the color of the coin from that standpoint. And again, you shouldn't do this with expensive coins or coins that are high value. But the interesting part about it is you'll notice that when I'm done with this, my Q-tip actually has quite a bit of green that's on it and quite a bit of dirt that came off as a result. So that tells me that this coin could have stood to be cleaned a little bit from that standpoint. Did I destroy the value of the coin? Not necessarily, because this is a coin that probably most people wouldn't send in for grading in the first place. So I don't necessarily think that it's something that you have destroyed its value on. You've enhanced its eye appeal, and so I think that there's something to be said for a definite eye appeal to a coin. Again, back to a nice soft cloth from that standpoint. And with BU coins, you never ever want to rub real hard on anything. You're pretty much just trying to get that excess oil off the coin. So you just simply pat it and tap it dry. You can use, if you don't want to use a towel because it may be abrasive, you can use one of these little cleaning pads, the makeup cleaning pads that I recommended. Those are a good thing to do too. But you'll notice that once I've done that, this is what it winds up turning out looking like. And it has a really nice eye appeal. It's got a nice luster to it. It's decently clean. The reverse is definitely better than it was, no doubt about that. So it looks significantly better. So what about a coin that has a little more corrosion to it, or one that actually may have actually been cleaned already at one point? That's what this particular one is. This is a 58D. It's got quite a bit of white stuff on it, quite a bit of gook around it. Who knows what it's been in? It could have been sitting in some water. It's got some discoloration on the back. So what happens when we do the same thing to this type of a coin? Well, let's find out, shall we? Same concept. You pretty much just kind of clean the coin very, very lightly, very gently. You don't want to try and overdo it, over polish it. That's the last thing that you want to do. Do the obverse. Try as best you can to take off anything that you might think is on top of the coin. I'm going to do the same thing with the reverse. You'll notice that my Q-tip is actually falling apart a little bit. That means that I'm certainly not using it very hard from that respect. This coin's probably not in as great a shape, but if it was a roll find that you know, from coin roll hunting, it's your coin, and hey, you want to make it look as good as you possibly can. So same thing, I'm going to just simply tap it dry. I can maybe rub this one a little bit more, only because it's not as nice of a coin overall. And again, it's not one I'm going to be sending in for grading. I don't have all the oil off of it yet. So I'm going to use this, try and do the same thing here and rub it a little bit. So there's that same 58D coin now that used to have all the white on it that now actually doesn't. I haven't destroyed it, only because, well, it wasn't an overly valuable coin to begin with, but it's at least my coin, and it looks definitely better putting it into an album. So coins that are already discolored like this, there's no way to get the original mint luster back. There's nothing you can do with that. All you can do is basically add some look to it by using the same thing, the olive oil or the avocado oil. It will give it a little bit more of a shine, if you want to call it such, and it's not permanent like the shellac was that we had on the coin from the first video that I did. But again, like I said, it's a coin that will not be worth an incredible amount of money at any point in the future, other than just the fact that you found it and you found it all on your own. So it definitely enhances its face value to you and its overall eye appeal. So there's a little bit about doing uncirculated or BU or AU coins, from that matter. What about one that's actually in really good shape, like an XF coin, and it's got a little bit of dark stuff around the outside edges? Down in the grooves of the motto, you can, if you look real close, you can see up in the motto and the word trust and stuff like that. How do we get stuff like that out? Well, that's pretty easy, actually. This is where I am actually going to use a little bit of Goo Gone, because olive oil doesn't have the same tendencies that Goo Gone does. So I'm going to put a little bit of Goo Gone on a Q-tip. And with that being said, I'm simply going to take this coin and I'm going to rub that Goo Gone as light as I possibly can around there, and we're going to see if we can get some of that up and out of around the outside edges of that. This is where you can rub a little bit harder if you want to. You don't want to overdo it, but at the same point in time, you want to try and get out what is currently in those grooves. And see whether or not you can lift some of that dirt. Some of it may just be surface dirt. Some of it could be discoloration from that respect, but you never know until you try. Again, don't rub too hard. If you do, you'll rub through the patina. And once you rub through the patina, you create a shiny spot. Everybody's seen what happens when you take an eraser to a coin. And try and see if you can find the date or something like that, and just take your time, go over it a little slower, let the Goo Gone actually do its work, and let it lift whatever dirt it can off of there. Again, no real heavy rubbing or pushing from that respect. And once you're done with that, take that Goo Gone off of there with a towel. Again, you can probably rub a little bit on this because it's not a full brilliant uncirculated coin. And there you go. If you look at the motto, you'll notice it up by my thumb there. Where my thumb was, the word trust is actually significantly cleaner, and there was a lot less debris now around the outside rim of that coin. So it definitely has a much better eye appeal to it. I'll let it dry a little bit, and then what I'll probably do is take a little bit of olive oil to help preserve it, and take that olive oil back off again as well. So that's part 3 in this 4-part series. The next one that I do is going to be a little bit about just storage of coins and how to what you should do when it comes to storing some of your coins. What are some of the better ways that you can store things and stuff like that. So hopefully you'll tune in for that. Thanks for watching.